Hello, everyone, and welcome to the What's Up Downtown podcast. I'm Nate Wendt.
And I'm Jenna Sawicki.
And we are ready for another awesome podcast.
Yay!
Woo! Today, we are joined in the podcast studio with Ryan Weidner, co-founder of Pollyanna Brewing. Pollyanna Brewing is new to the St. Charles scene here in St. Charles, but is already becoming a favorite to everyone who has had a chance to come stop by there and try their awesome, terrific craft brews. Before we get into the hard-hitting questions, let's start with a simple one. How are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Good.
Happy to have you in here. It's awesome. So,
yeah, we're very excited about everything that's going on over on that side of the downtown. So,
yeah.
welcome.
It's been a lot of fun.
So, can you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself and just a little tidbit just to get us going here?
Yeah, sure. So I born and raised. I'm a Woodstock high school graduate. Went to NIU for my schooling, background in accounting and finance. So spent about a half a career in corporate finance before going down the path of the craft brewery world. So moved to the area in 2008. Okay. So we live over in Cornerstone Lakes. My boys go to St. Charles East and Redling.
Okay.
And it's...
That's awesome. So what are some of the things that drew you to St. Charles originally and also now with Pollyanna?
For sure. I mean, so obviously we moved here in 2008. My kids were young, obviously loved the school system.
Yes.
So we've been thrilled with that. And then you just fall in love with the downtown the more you spend time in it, right? So I look back now. I met me and my wife's first date was at Francesca's. We got married. Got married on Christmas Eve at Hotel Baker 6 years ago. So
I knew that. That's pretty amazing. You were really tied back here.
We really have, yeah. Even though not born and raised here, but definitely have called it home for me.
Your adopted home.
Yeah, adopted home. Absolutely.
I think on New Year's Eve, or not New Year's, Christmas Eve. That's awesome.
Or New Year's Eve. Yeah. Did I say Christmas? Eve. Oh my goodness.
Don't tell her. Edit it out.
I was gonna say you think I got married on New Year's just so I could remember that date, and I still screwed up. So
that's okay. Well, was it still Christmassy, like themed and decorated?
Oh,
when you guys
it was.
got married?
Oh my gosh,
sure
it was so much fun. It was a lot of fun, and we got a ton of snow that night, good or bad. But yeah, it was awesome.
Cool.
Getting married in the Rainbow Room and having a New Year's celebration, and we did it. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We had Hotel Baker on the last podcast, and they were talking about their Rainbow Room. That room's super cool. So that's awesome. You got to experience that.
I always say Donnie and Jenny stole our idea. We got married 6 months before they did. So
yeah, that's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about what made you guys, the Pollyanna, choose St. Charles?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the story is probably a little bit longer than you guys want to hear, but
we have like 40 minutes.
Yeah, okay, let's hit it. So we always had, we started the business in 2014 and really had kind of this 10 to 20 year plan of, making beer, making consistent beer, and then kind of growing the retail or taproom business over the course of what I called 20 years. This is back 6 years ago. So, but we were opportunistic and optimistic, obviously, as Pollyanna folks. So we really, yeah, how about that, right? Fit that one in. I didn't even practice it. But we really had a model of kind of a suburban model, production model, kind of a taproom experience model. First about the beer, from there kind of build off that. So we had the great opportunity in 2017 to move into the western suburbs in Roselle. And then last year I kind of sat with my partners and started looking at, well, why not put continue this on and look to the Fox Valley area, which was always kind of a strategy. So we kind of had a retail strategy that wasn't, a certain distance from each brewery and kind of a certain model based on demographics, et cetera. Right. So we always looked at the Fox Valley, and I'll credit the beautiful space we're in Lamont as the reason we're in Lamont, and I most definitely will credit that building we're at 106 South Riverside is the reason we're here. Not that we wouldn't have found St. Charles as a home. I was clearly intimate and passionate with the town, but that space was absolutely perfect for us. It was time and place, and I think if we were 6 months earlier or 6 months later, not sure it would have really worked out for us, frankly, because it probably would have been accounted for already. So
yeah, absolutely, yeah, and we're super happy to have you guys here. I mean, the work you've done on that space is incredible, and we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
So,
but at your opening, I remember you saying you guys kind of this coming into the Fox Valley was a part of the plan, but not necessarily this soon.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you guys you're opportunistic and just like saw this opportunity and you're like, this might have been a 10-year plan, but now let's make this happen.
Gotta pull the trigger now.
Pedal to the metal. What we said is, we built a business plan, and of course you're talking. I'm the finance guy. I'm not the brewer, but we built a business plan with really. We built a wholesale production brewery. We thought that, I thought from a finance side, 90% of our revenue would come from bars, restaurants, golf courses, liquor stores throughout the Chicagoland area. And then the taproom business would be supplemental. I always kind of figured, if we can get, I think I modeled it. It's funny to look at now as we draw 3,000 or 4,000 people a week to the brewery. Yeah. I think I modeled it that we hoped that 100 people would kind of find their way to the brewery, in a given week. You know, maybe we could do something and just have that be the supplemental experience. What we found out in the Mont early on was, we had 1,100 people at our grand opening, which was a lot of friends and family of ours, frankly. But after that, the staying power of that was really exciting to watch. So from my side of the coin, the business side, not that the model immediately inverted, but the idea of let's just get our beer in bars, restaurants, liquor stores was which was always the focus, was kind of then on even par, because now all of a sudden the experience that our customers had in the tap room seemed to be unique. We don't have food. We didn't have food in the Mont. We don't have food in Roselle and St. Charles. So we have a boutique model, and it was always just about kind of being intimate with the experience of craft beer, having our fresh beer on tap. Under license, we really can't have anyone else's beer on tap. Back then, I have kind of modified some of the, regulatory environment has changed a little bit the last couple of years, but it was really a way for us to showcase our beer, tell our story, and we hoped 100 people a week would show up, and it's been really exciting to see. So what we really. Not that we'd never abandoned the distro model. We had 150 accounts at the time. We have almost 1,000 now between 24 counties in northern Illinois. And
that's incredible.
And just right in the midst of the St. Charles opening, we actually established out-of-state distribution down in Kentucky. So the last week of September, we started distributing in 5 markets down in Kentucky. So why not?
Slowly but surely getting across the U.S.
For punishment. You're like, what's going on?
Taking over the world literally 1 mile at a time, I guess. But that's been kind of fun. So that was kind of our dip our toe in out-of-state distribution. Found a great distributor partner down there. Right. And why not do it right in the midst of everything else that's going on, a chaotic year for Pollyanna. So why not? Rip it off of the band, get it all out of the way it was.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's super incredible. So when did you officially open here in St. Charles?
November 1st.
November 1st. And then, so far so good? How's it going?
So far, very good. So, we had an aggressive construction plan. Obviously, we had a lot.
Yes, aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would walk by there almost daily and just be so impressed and just be like, oh, they're still working. Oh, it's just incredible. The vision and the time, the amount of people.
Right. Well, it'd be awesome, too, because you'd stop by one day and then the next day you'd see all these improvements and be like, geez, these guys are they're going, let's go.
Oh my God. We realized, we set out in spring, I think March or April is when we started construction. We were going to try to dress it up. It was kind of a turnkey type model, right? I mean, it was a bar before we took it over, now, albeit several years ago. So the bones were there, but when we started getting into it and some of the stuff we had to do for the production system, we knew we had to kind of strip it down a little bit more than we probably initially thought. And we knew we had something special. We have a long-term vision. So, kind of coupling in on the outside facade of the building where we were able to, it was very opportunistic that Flagship was also doing their build out at the same time. So we talked to them about the outdoor facade and the garage doors.
Right.
And
which we love.
Oh, what a great concept,
awesome.
Right? I mean, looking right over the river. If only we had, 40 yards from the river. But what we really wanted to do is try to get open in September. That was our goal. But November 1st was the date we landed on. We have yet to the construction deadline, but we wanted to do it right too. If we would have pressed too quick in those summer months, we wouldn't have got done what we wanted to get done. Yeah. So we figure we're here for the next couple decades. So why not do it right and open in the right way. So
and kind of continue talking about the space. I saw in a Kane County Chronicle article you were quoted saying that you ripped everything down to the studs. So what were the challenges with remodeling the space and trying to get this place, ready for Pollyanna to come in.
Yeah. So we had our vision of how we wanted it done. We kind of, and then of course we were doing working on the building with the Kurt and Conrad Hurst at Frontier Development. So they had a similar vision. So it was really just game planning from there and figuring out exactly, they own the building, so any of the improvements also has long-term staying ability with them, and we have a long-term vision here, obviously. So it was all about really, first off, I mean, the things that go through my mind as we started out was, that for instance, the bathrooms were usable, but, at the end of the day, they were 50-year-old bathrooms. That building was built in 1934, right? So, and it was, it was, the Arcata Recreation Center in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and then it's been a bar for many years. Obviously,
it's lived many lives.
Many lives, yeah. And it had a lot of, you could almost see each one of the operators that took over in over the decades.
I'm sure.
Oh,
I'm
my
sure,
goodness.
Everyone left a little bit of a tattoo.
Yes, that was a good way to put it.
Everyone's got their name carved in the wall. And
literally,
like, oh.
Almost literally, yeah. So we and we knew, obviously, I went there, back in the day before when it was Cordon Blues, before it closed, and I remember that big long bar on the north side of the space, and I remember the stage, obviously, which was in the back corner. That weird step. Oh my God, I brought my
death.
Yeah. I didn't want to bring my insurance guy through because I'm sure he'd have been like, "Your policies are going up. This is way too libelous." With this step right in the middle of this bar. But what we realized is that we really just had this vision of. And then we kind of got excited about this modern speakeasy. Obviously, we're in a side of the river in the downtown area that's got a lot of ties back 60, 70, 80 years ago. You got a lot of that in the Arcata and the speakeasy concept.
There's a lot
there.
of really good music juju in that area.
Exactly, yeah. So we started playing off that. We always wanted to preserve what the building has been, right? So if I recall what I remember the building, it was that, it was probably at the end of a nightcap, as I visited a couple of other fine establishments. Usually McNally's was before that when it was on the east side. But I had my own recollections of it as I talked to friends and neighbors. They all remember that building as a music venue and that big bar. And then if you talk to folks from years ago, I mean, that used to be a bowling alley. So one of the real fun, that was 4-lane bowling alley on the north south side of the building. And one of the projects I took on just as an accounting finance guy with a bunch of tools was a winter project when we were demoing the building. Those bowling alleys were still there, and it was, and I looked at them, and of course we were going to rip them up because we wanted to get down to the original floors and avoid that step that created this, step.
Right.
So I cut 2 of the lanes out, and actually we were doing a renovation addition down in our Lamont brewery at the same time. So I took 2 of the lanes home. I cut them into slabs. My wife, all winter long, I had these slabs of bowling alley floors from the 30s and 40s in our garage. But I made 14 tables for our Lamont location because we were expanding. So I literally made tables out of this bowling alley.
Talk about a hands-on owner.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing these home. It's fine. It's an arts and crafts project.
Here, honey.
Yeah. Well, and also just continuing the history of it. I mean, those were so much part of the building, and to have those repurposed into that is just so cool in my eyes.
I didn't have quite the motivation to do because we needed about 40 tables for the space. But if you do go in the St. Charles space now up against those garage doors on that upper level, there's 4 tables in those lounge areas. Those are the 4 tables. I kept 4 tables up here.
I remember seeing those. I literally remember you lugging them in
That's right.
the building, and I saw you lugging them in, and I was like, I think it's very impressive that you are so hands-on, but also that you're like, I'm keeping these here. So the spirit of the bowling alley. Oh gosh, keep me in trouble.
It's okay.
The spirit of the bowling alley is definitely still there. I just kept seeing my voice be super loud on here, so I was trying to go back.
Self-moderate. But we're all about storytelling and keep preserving the history of that building, and there's so much history. So I was thrilled to be able to bring those tables back in there.
It was very nice touch.
Was it ever a thought to keep those bowling alleys and have a bowling alley in Pollyanna or?
No, not necessarily, because we always that it would have been cool if they get back down, but we always had that the production
Depends
space
on
was
how much beer you have.
Yes. Exactly. It's always it's always a better idea, Nate. After a few beers,
you're like, maybe we could make this work.
Yeah. No, we always had, because we had what was the old stage became our production area. We knew we had to steal that 1,000 square foot in the back, and then we also wanted to bring music back to the location because it's been known for music for decades. So we always had that stage in front of there. So looking back, we probably could have found a way to do it, but that was they were pretty much in disrepair as well. It was rough, but it was cool. I didn't know what I was going to find underneath them when I dug them up, though. What did
you find?
Yeah, I know, just cobwebs. I remember we had one outlet, we had no lights and no heat. My sons and I were out there with saws cutting this floor up in the middle of February this last year, and like we were all kind of wincing when we pried the floor up, not knowing what dead animals we were going to find or whatever.
No dead anything, yeah.
No dead anything, right? Yeah.
Or maybe you'd find like a treasure chest or something.
I was thinking all about Geraldo. I remember watching that show years ago. Who knows what you're going to find?
Oh yeah,
right?
that was how disappointing when they opened Capone's. Well, everyone was so disappointed.
Right.
Okay, so we talked about kind of how the space used to be, but obviously you created this whole vision and like whole brand of Pollyanna. So tell us a little bit more about the culture that you created with the new updates and everything like that.
As a company as a whole?
As a company as a whole, and also just like the space.
Sure. So go stripping it all the way back to before we ever opened the company, we did our, not to quote my mission statement or our business plan, but we're really what me and my 4 partners all were really passionate about in the business was making experimental, consistent, world-class beers, defining our, the process. It all starts with the beer.
Right.
Creating really unique, interesting, engaging experiences in our tap rooms, and then being really good stewards of the community that we reside in, right? And everything was really focused around Lamont back then. We thought my retirement plan, I kind of figured was going to be a second and third location, and it probably is. It just accelerated by 15 or 20 years. But so we really, everything we've ever done, while we don't take our mission statement out every time we make a decision, is really around those 3 principles, right? It's all about the beer. It's all about the experience in the tap room. It's all about being engaged in the community in a genuine and authentic way.
Okay.
So really, that space really took that same presence on. We wanted to make sure we preserved the historical element of the space, which has been known as a music venue. We have acoustic music in the other locations, but we don't have the space for anything bigger than that, frankly.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make this into some kind of music relevant location, with beer as the base, but as part of our experience in the tap room, make it relevant, bring it back to what it's been relevant for, bring it back, there's a lot of music on the east side, so kind of preserve some of that. Wanted to preserve the bar, so that, if you look in those pictures, I spent some time at the Historic Museum, and you'll get that same footprint in that bar, that 30-foot bar. It's been like that since the 40s.
Yeah,
so
it's really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I wanted to put, we put cement tops on it, so I had to kind of reinforce it. It probably would have smashed the old bar, but we wanted to preserve exactly that footprint because, that's people know that place for the music. They know it for the bar. Everything else was really just modernizing it, making it feel big. It was a big space for us. It's by far our largest location.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we wanted the grandioso of walking in and kind of seeing this big space. Obviously, we wanted to have the production system front and center behind.
Okay.
We couldn't do it in open air in this location like we did in Lamont. We wanted to have it with this huge glass wall behind. Have it behind the glass wall, and of course have the presence of a band playing with a brew system in back. What a cool vision we thought that would be. We really wanted to focus on the space. All of our locations have really been focused in. I never would have planned this as a venue, as like a booking to do events, like private events. So we wanted to create. We've always wanted to have an event space, although I didn't want to start chopping the room up. I wanted this big room, and so as you walk in, you'll kind of see different. Like we have that elevated area up near the front garage doors, right? So the idea is that while that's not a separate banquet room, we could always do private events up there, and we kind of set it up there with its own TV and its own lighting and sound and everything, where you could be doing something down below and maybe do a private event up there for up to 80 people, or vice versa. I can do something down below, or I can do something up on that stage area, if we have parties of 15 or 20. So it's all about kind of building in spaces that we could segment to private events without actually putting walls up to do it. So that was kind of what we, and obviously, the garage doors were an easy one, preserving that. We did blow open that window or the wall on the south side that faces Illinois Street, so that we can pick up that panoramic of the Fox River. So sitting there, we always envisioned just having these doors open, having a beer, sitting here on a nice summer day. What a great experience this is, right? That's where we really started that plan. But to build on it and actually capture that south side of the river, kind of the panoramic view of that was why we did that. And then, of course, the one thing while we have, outdoor patios at our other locations, Lamont has a big wrapped around patio. We can fit 150.
Wow.
Roselle has a big beer garden. That's probably our what that place is known for, almost a 2,000 square foot beer garden. This allows us to have great summer experiences, allows us to be pseudo dog friendly. This is a dog friendly community. Rosella's as well. People really, I love having a beer with. I can drag my dog with me and sit on the patio. So that was kind of the next step for us. Was then to work close with the city to see if there was a way that we could do that. And they were very gracious in allowing us to take over kind of that southwest corner of green space and turn that into a 500 square foot patio. Of course, we opened November 1st, so not quite.
Not quite utilized.
And it snowed on Halloween, right? So not quite what we were hoping. Right?
Weather has been very strange this year.
It sure has been, yeah. But,
I really do think that you guys have done an excellent job of keeping your brand consistent in all 3 locations. Like, you walk in and you're having a Pollyanna experience, and I noticed that the second I got to walk into when you're fully done with this space, because again, I was peeking my head in throughout the whole process, but you guys have done a really good job of keeping it consistent, and you go in and it is a vibe. There is you go in and it's cozy, and you still feel like it's very communal, almost like community friendly, and like you can see people across the room that every time I go in. I have a lot of meetings there on Friday afternoons, which is my favorite place to have meetings now.
Thank you.
So if somebody asks me for a meeting, that's where I'm going to take you. So I just want to say kudos that you guys did an excellent job of keeping that brand consistent, keeping it very the Pollyanna vibe, and so great job for bringing that for St. Charles.
But let's get into talking about some of the things that you guys brew. So do you guys have
most important things?
Yeah, I know, it's all about the beer, right? All this other stuff is all about the beer. Right?
But let's talk about, do you have any special or holiday themed brews coming up for Christmas or anything? Or
So not particularly. So there's a couple of key beers that tend to come out this time of year. We don't make like a nut brown ale and stuff like that. But one beer that really I would say yes to would probably, we do a pastry stout series. It's called Fun Size. Yes. It's if Brian was here, he would tell you wanted to deconstruct a Snickers bar into a beer, and he did a pretty nice job of it. But around Christmas, we'll make a Christmas varietal of that. So like last year, it'll be a special, top secret. I can't talk about it yet. It's released next week. But last year,
hold on. Turn the mic off. Tell them.
Off script.
Last year we made Sugar Cookie Fun Size.
Ooh.
So that comes out on tap, and of course in 500 milliliter bottles sold throughout the market too. So I would say we're gonna have that special beer release. Other than that, we get into a lot of barrel-aged beers this time of year, but nothing Christmas, holiday-centric specifically. But, definitely in that stout porter run here.
Not too much like the Christmas lager or like...
Not too much. We love making lagers. 2 of our brewers brewed in Europe, real traditional style brewers, and learned traditionally how to make, really authentic lagers.
Right.
And so they love doing that, but nothing in the Christmas varietal of that. But doesn't stop us from making lagers year round. That's for sure.
And doesn't stop people from enjoying them too. So.
That's right.
And then you guys also have the Growlers too. So how much are those, and can you fill them up with any of the brews that you guys offer at Pollyanna?
Yep. Yeah. So we've got the 64-ounce Growlers, which is a nice craft takeaway package. Anything off the tap. Usually, and when I say that, usually anything below 10% ABV. So you start getting above. We have a couple of the barrel-aged beers and that, and some of the, those, they have a higher ABV than wine does, for instance, right? 13, 14, 15%. So putting those in a half-gallon jug isn't really good for anybody.
No one's going to have a good time.
Right. This is not going to be right. After the first couple
2 glasses of that, and you're
32 ounces of that.
Right. That you have to, by the way, drink in 72 hours, or else it's going to go flat.
It's like you buy this and you must stay home.
Yes, that's for a long weekend, right? And then
You're going to get snowed in.
Exactly.
A
recovery
week. Giant
week.
blizzard, you got to get one of the Growlers of those guys.
It'll change a lot just if there's a snow blizzard coming.
That's right.
No.
But we'll do Growlers for pretty much everything on tap. We have 24 beers on tap. I should say with 23 beers on tap plus a cider. We can't make cider, so we bring a guest cider in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And those things run, those fills run for anywhere from like $15 to $25.
Okay.
We also have, everything's about, things we name. So of course we have the Growlers as well, which are the 32-ounce cans. That's actually a Growler machine is, in the other locations, this is the first location we brought a Growler machine in, but that's actually a 32-ounce can that we fill right off the tap. The nice thing about
cool.
those.
The machines are actually cool.
Yeah, they're neat. Yeah, literally you're watching this can right in front of your eyes.
Very
And the nice thing about that is it's sealed under carbon, CO2, so those keep a little bit longer than a growler that might might probably has about a week lasting power to it versus a Growler, which
doesn't matter how hard you squeeze it.
No, I know.
Closed,
yeah, right.
You
just can't get it.
It's a commitment.
It is a commitment.
You buy that Growler and you're committed.
You're committed.
Yeah.
You are going to crush that thing one way or another.
Yeah.
Over a weekend,
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And then I also want to talk about your flagship beers, the Full Monty, the Lexical Gap, and the Eleanor. Why are these the flagship? Like, what's kind of the reasoning there?
Yeah, so we opened the brewery with that profile of something that Brian, our brewers, would call crushable, which is a nice, easy golden ale like Full Monty.
Right.
Wait, so crushable meaning like easy to drink?
Light ABV, kind of lawnmower
like
beer.
it.
You kind of hear
I
about
can
that,
crush
right?
this.
Lawnmower
exactly.
beer.
Yeah, exactly. Lawnmower beer, like a
Lawnmower
4%.
Easy drinking.
Easy
okay, I like
drinking,
that.
so.
I'm stealing crushable.
Yeah,
It's mine.
crushable. Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's that's a golden ale, something that Full Monty was the first beer we ever named off of the town of Lamont. So it's kind of not much of a story behind that name as far as that
that's
goes.
what I figured.
Yeah, that one's an easy one. Although everyone always calls it lemon tea and thinks there's lemon in it, but that
lemon tea.
Lemon tea. But,
I thought it was like the Full of Monty, Monty, which is like a movie from like
that's
that.
right. Yeah. Lexo Gap, we opened 14. It's a straight West Coast IPA. So everybody, while we're not IPA forward or centric, we're really not any style centric, frankly, but that's been our go-to since day one. Actually, I shouldn't say day one. We opened in September of 14. We released that on New Year's Eve of 14. So, and that one's been a mainstay. Number one seller, typically year over year, is Lexical Gap.
Okay.
People still like a good West Coast IPA, I guess.
Yep.
And a porter, there's not a lot of year-round porters. So what we said, we there's one Revolution makes, but outside of that, Brian would tell you, our head brewer, my partner, that's the beer that he perfected in his home before he ever opened a brewery, but in his homebrew world. It's his favorite beer, that robust porter.
Okay.
It's still one that's you let it sit, warm up a little, kind of like a red wine, right? You let it warm up a little bit, and it releases
Get
all
the
these
air in there.
And it releases
Nate's
all
a
these
dark beer drinker.
Yeah, I'm a huge stout fan, so I haven't stopped by Pollyanna yet, but it's in the cards, and I'm like, I'm gonna go
I've
try
been
a
in like
bunch
5
of them.
times. I don't know how you haven't been there.
I think Jenna might be there more than me.
I
sometimes.
always see you. I'm like, oh yeah.
I ran into Laura the other day too. So
Yes, we're here quite a bit. The staff tends to. We spend some time there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are our cores from the day one. I mean, we've rotated. We had a couple other flagships we've worked through based on just style, current styles and that. And obviously, we've made over 100 plus styles and different varietals of that. So, the great thing about having 3 brewers, we'll be hiring our 4th this spring, is that these guys have really, 2 of them brewed in Europe. 2 of them are Siebel Master Brewers.
Yeah.
Vince had a really extensive homebrew background. So these guys are real artisans,
Yeah, they bring experience from all over, and all the crafting materials, not from just the U.S., but overseas and stuff. So that's very valuable.
They do. And you look at some of the success we've had from a beer competition. We all love beer competitions, but the few awards that we've won on a national level, and one just coming off the Great American Beer Fest this October, our first gold medal at the Great American Beer Fest was at It was in the American Lager category. So literally the category that macro beer invented, right? Light beer invented. We made a beer called Light Reading, and it's a light lager, American style lager. So we took a bronze medal home 3 years ago for our Oktoberfest lager. So the 2 national awards we've gotten have been in lager categories, not in ale categories.
So I have a question about a beer competition. I'm envisioning something really intense, almost like dodgeball-esque. Am I missing?
Well, you think they're throwing beer cans at each other?
I don't know, or what's the movie when they drink beer and they go to Beer Fest? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just imagining, is it pretty intense? Is it like you're, or like a dog show?
I feel like it's something that'd probably be similar to like a chili cook-off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chili cook-off with what's grown to be even our 5 years. There was, over 3,000 breweries there. So the Great American Beer Fest in Denver is the biggest beer competition in the world now. And this year there was almost 3,000 breweries. There was almost 10,000 beers submitted. There is the messy side. We'll call it the messy side of that 4-day adventure, which is kind of the trade show, beer show. Kind of open up a coliseum and everyone's drinking each other's beer, and then it's going into the auditorium, and it's really full stage. And this has become, even in our 5 years of presenting, we were the business clearly has grown. We were brewery like 3,000 in the United States. There's over 7,000 now just in 5 years.
Okay.
So this has grown even in the 5 years we've been in business. So we weren't late, but we weren't early. So, but yeah, it's become pretty a pretty tough competition for sure. But
okay.
I just feel like I can feel like the nerves, like the judge. Oh gosh,
sorry. I stayed home the last.
Jenna's getting secondhand anxiety.
I am.
I watched it. I just did the live feed. I watched it from home, and I was so anxious. And then to hit it, we submitted 10 beers, and to hit it on light reading, who would have thought? It was the third time we ever made that beer, and we won a gold medal on it. So it's kind of interesting. I kind of dismissed that category, thinking, okay, there's no way we've got a shot at this category.
But maybe, yeah.
Right, exactly. But yeah, you never know.
Yeah, and to continue on the talk of brews, so. If I'm new to Pollyanna, if I haven't tried any of the brews before and want to get a flight of beer to understand Pollyanna's flavor profiles, what selection would you recommend I get to get a taste of like Pollyanna Brewing?
Gotcha. Yep. Yeah, that's probably an easy one. We'd start with the crushable, right? So we'd get you probably the light reading or maybe the full Amania Golden Ale. Walk into something that's got some hop profile. I always say it with a flight, you're only committing 4 ounces. So whether you like it or not, right? Four ounces of anything should be okay. But probably walk through something on the hoppy side. We've got 3 or 4. We've got 2 pale ales, 2 IPAs out right now. So we probably walk there. Probably go down definitely get you into a stout or a porter.
Right.
This time of year, probably fun size, but otherwise year round, definitely Eleanor. I would probably throw, since you're experimenting on flavors, I'd probably throw a Berliner Weiss in there, which is a good German, wheat beer. A little bit on the tart side and sour, so it's something
a little funky.
A little funky, but different, and palatable on the light side. Yeah. And then we have a pretty robust barrel age program. So right now we're heavy on the barrel age. So right now you have a lot of choices in barrel age.
Right.
But I definitely walk into that finishing beer would be something barrel aged. Right now it would probably be our Belgian. There's a barrel age festival. Again, we all compete against each other. Right. Last month we won a gold medal on it's a Belgian triple aged in apple brandy barrels that we got from Wisconsin. So I would probably, it's called Renda Volume 2. So I'd probably walk you there to finish. And it's got some funkiness to it, some sweetness, but it's got a lot of flavor to it. So that's probably where I'd finish you up.
All right. When I stop by, I'm going to do that flight.
Ready to go. We'll call it the Nate. We're going to name this the Nate.
More than 5, so I think you might take a couple of flights.
That's fine.
I'll sacrifice for the team. That's funny.
So to wrap up the questions on the brews, it's a silly question, but I think it's a good one. So if you were a beer, what beer would you be like? Would you be a stout? Would you be a porter? Would you be a light beer? And why?
Oh my. Okay. Oh boy. Well, I am a pretty. If you're talking me, one that fits my personality, I'm a pretty simple person, laid back. I would probably say a nice, easy drinking lager. I think
a nice crushable.
Yeah, nice crushable. Not too much drama, not too much flavor in my life. Just kind of, accounting finance guy. If you ask my partners, they'd probably definitely spice it up a little bit more than me. But that probably defines me the best. Is a nice, easy crushable, golden ale or lager. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. I like that answer.
That's perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, so we heard you guys have kind of laid the floor plan for the St. Charles location. What are some things we can look forward to here?
Yeah, so we are literally today and then this weekend and next week starting to build on those experiences, right? So the experiences in the tap room, we're up and going. We've been open 45 days. We've got the staff, 15 staff, all brand new to Pollyanna, all trained. They're killing it. They're doing well. Now it's about introducing the experiences. So we have... obviously, we'll continue to build on the music profile, building on open mic night, probably on an acoustic night. Meeting this afternoon with some of the local yoga studios because we want to bring something in. And this is just around the idea of beer of experiences, a beer yoga concept. We do it in Roselle, we do it in Lamont. It's a Saturday or Sunday morning event. It's an hour. We bring in a certified instructor. They kind of, we sell tickets or they sell tickets or they come in for an admission. There's a beer or two that go along with it. They enjoy it before or after, and they just have a good time, experience around the beer. So that'll start. I really look forward to doing that with the garage doors open in the summer, 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah, on Saturdays, that fresh air coming in.
I know. How fun will that be? So we've got a couple of interests there. Also, we'll be bringing trivia. We've done trivia at the other location since the day we opened the business. We've already engaged a trivia group, Bag of Tricks, to work with us. It's going to be Tuesday nights, the first quarter of next year, and then we might flip that to Wednesday nights. So doing some collaborations with the St. Charles Library. They're going to be doing some cross-promoting at some of the trivia nights. So
that'd be
that's
awesome.
kind of cool. Yeah, kind of engage. I'm talking to some of the other community, some of the civic
Our library's
groups.
awesome.
Yes.
Oh, they were excited. We were excited. So how cool is that to bring in an element to that? So outside of that, boy, we do festivals at the other locations. Roselle Summer Beer Fest. We do our big Oktoberfest. These have grown to become literally thousands of people coming to these festivals that used to be in our parking lot, and now they've taken over metro lots and downtown streets. Not sure if we'll have that capability here in St. Charles, but definitely expect some kind of summertime event that we're featuring something exciting. Great thing in this town is there's multiple breweries, so I think you could probably see we're working with the chamber right now and possibly working on something in aggregate with all the breweries that are going to be in town. That it's a great community to experience a lot of great beer. And these guys,
I know we're working on a brewery tour ourselves.
How fun is that?
So we're really excited.
And we'll get more information about that soon. So be sure to watch out for it, everyone.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's still collaborative. The industry is still collaborative. It was fun to see the guy, the guys at D&G and Riverlands, and even Alter, who's not here yet but coming at our opening. We'll be at their opening. The Penrose guys too in Geneva. So it's still very collaborative, and we've been friends with these guys for a long time. So it's I think plenty of good beer to go around in this town for sure. So.
Exactly. I mean, you got Riverlands in there too, and D&G. So it's going to be just a huge community that's going to be, and we're excited to see how that shapes and comes out. So.
Yeah, I always say we see that at the other locations. There's breweries around us and breweries that have opened since we've been there, and the industry or the experience of craft beer is still kind of like where you're doing tours and you're experimenting and you're not really. I want to say you're not competing over a customer. You're kind of all sharing the customer, because the experience is kind of like, let's go to D&G and have their Kolsch. Let's go to Riverlands and I have an IPA, and let's kind of just have an afternoon out and a beer and move on. And that's kind of that experience. That's what we've observed, at least. And I think this town, and again, Alter is going to be a great compliment to that as well. It'll be really, really exciting to. That's not, one would say that's threatening to a brewery, and it really is. And we knew that environment existed in this town.
Community, and it's community, not competition, is what I always say.
Right.
And so we really lean in hard into that. And I know that my husband and I, we're big beer nerds, and we will go travel to a town or a community, and we'll hit up several breweries to go, and we'll nerd out, like talking about how it was brewed and the flavor profiles, and and the more we can talk to, like, either the person behind the bar or the brewer themselves, that's amazing if we get lucky to do that. But it's a different culture that people that it's bringing to town, and I think it's just going to bring more and more people to see what we have in St. Charles. And I just think that there's room for everyone to thrive.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you got all these different flavors in there, so it's like you have, like you said, you can go to the different breweries and try out different things. So I think
everyone's really doing very different things.
Yes, yeah.
Like it's interesting to see the different specialties everyone has.
Right, yeah, 4 breweries, you kind of put us all in the same category, and yet it's a totally different feel and experience
Totally
at all
different.
of them, right?
Yeah.
So can we? There's some distilling plans. Is that correct as well?
There are, yes.
Are those top secret too? Should we turn off the camera?
No, we finally disclosed this. So this started as a one of the challenges you have as a brewery expanding into multiple brewing locations, and it's important for us when we open a location to also make sure we have some production going on there. The authenticity to this process and to the community of beer. We could get a license and just have a tap room. I mean, we don't have to produce necessarily, but one of the challenges is always trying to make multiple, moving your production crew all over the area to try to produce, but it's also trying to make similar beers at different systems. You can we buy the grain and the hops from the same vendors, but what you don't have is a water source. And Lamont has a very deep iron-rich well that we draw from. Roselle has Lake Michigan water, and we have a different water profile out here. So the challenge we were going to have early on is, oh my gosh, do we need another beer production system? And then how the heck do we, now make, what are we going to specialize here so that it's different than other places? And, the distilling process starts out very similar as a brewing process. Artisanally, it's very similar. And it's something that the brewers are excited to do. So we kicked it around during the formation of this location, and it's something we're gonna entertain. It won't be, we opened in the beer business with a big distribution model, a wholesale model. This will be a 100-gallon still. We'll be making gin and vodka and rum, bourbon and whiskey.
That's
and
amazing.
That's gonna be cool.
Yeah, do some stuff in there,
Yeah.
and then
We love that because it'll be cool. So cool to be like it's homegrown. It's very authentically St. Charles, and we're just thrilled.
Right.
So that'll be much of the storytelling here in St. Charles. Unfortunately, we're probably, the equipment is a half a year out. The lead times are real. It's a really,
You'll blink and it'll be here.
that's what we kind of figured. It allows us to dial in the the location before we really bring in spirits. And with that, we'll have craft cocktails and we'll have flights of spirits. So it'll be a lot of fun to.
So you'll bring in
avoid
everybody.
into.
Like that's really smart because you're going to bring in
It's like whole market
it's
covered.
the whole market you're covering now. Because I mean, like I'm a beer drinker, but like I have several friends who are like, oh, I'm not a big beer drinker, so I don't know if I need to, check it out. But then they can come along too, and then and so
and
it's
have like an old fashioned or something like
Yes.
that. Yeah.
It'll be fun, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be different. We're probably not ready today for it,
Something
but it'll
else
be
to
really
conquer.
exciting. Yes, absolutely. We're ready. We're ready.
That's awesome. And so then so food wise, you guys are BYOF.
BYOF, yeah.
Bring your own food.
We made that, I think the craft beer community made that terminology up.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so really, I mean, without boring you with regulatory restrictions, when we opened the business, we couldn't have food. Not that we, frankly, even had an interest. Me and my partners didn't come from the restaurant business.
Right.
So it was something with, again, in the model we talked about before, we're not, we weren't focusing on the taproom experience. It didn't include food. We figured we could make great beer. I don't know that you would want to eat the food we'd make, frankly, and it didn't work in the modeling. But we've had the opportunity now, the regulations have changed. But again, we've created a boutique model. It's kind of experience-based. And we're in communities that have great food offerings, right? So when I look at Lamont and Roselle and there's 20 pizza deliveries on a Saturday night literally, I sat there for an hour last week and I saw 5 deliveries in 1 hour.
Did you get a slice of each or not?
I probably have had one of everything at these places, but that, we have so many great restaurants in town here, right? So
yes, we're very lucky.
Exactly. There's so many great areas. So why not work closely with our partners, our business owner partners in town to make great food to bring it in, and I and the more and more I talk to pizza and Chinese and Mexican come to mind, but then you talk to Kim at La Mesa the other day and she's interested and you could do some really cool stuff and for us it helps us be good stewards of the community with our fellow business owners,
right.
And frankly, again, in a comical way, I don't know if anyone would want to eat anything we have to make. So, and clearly, this is our location here is unique in that it's the only first location we have where we have a restaurant obviously next door to us. So,
Yes.
Right.
And that'll create its own kind of synergies there, but that doesn't limit anybody in any way to.
But it is great that you guys have them next door, and I'm sure there's some play on if you can walk up and you're smelling French fries, maybe you'll get some beer, and then you're like, oh,
yes.
I need some. I need
it's
a
way
burger.
too easy, right?
Yeah, it's like
Too
twin businesses that are like
and they're both
you guys
complementary.
Yes.
Very complimentary.
I think so, and that was by happenstance again. I mean, we've got to know those guys early on in the process. We would meet at Riverlands, as a matter of fact, to meet Steve and Jared and the group. And
made it real hard. Had to go have a beer.
I know. Come on, guys,
Yeah.
you got to go have another meeting. Honey, I got to have another meeting with the Flagship guys.
Yeah.
But just to understand what they were doing, and it's been they're neighbors of ours. They're just they're good guys, and I think they're running a heck of a business. Just like like I said, many of the other business owners I've met in town.
It's exciting the amount of new business and older businesses that are sort of melding together and really all thriving together. And people like Zaza's who've been around for 22 years plus. Are also excited about all the new guys coming to town. So it's exciting for us too. So
Yeah.
Nate, are you ready for your
Yes.
biggest?
So
your big
you've made it
question?
through our gauntlet of questions. We just have 2 more for you. They're nice and simple. So we'll start off first one. How can people find out more about Pollyanna?
www.pollyannabrewing.com.
Okay.
We have a nice social media presence, obviously Facebook. More than anything, we have a St. Charles Facebook page. We'll talk about the happenings at St. Charles. So that's probably the best place to find us.
Absolutely. And then Facebook, social media wise, that as well?
Yep, absolutely.
Is on Instagram.
Instagram.
Too.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
On the gram.
Strong. Yep, on the gram, on Facebook.
All right. And then last question. This one's the hardest one of the whole
You said
series.
it was easy. Now you're. What's that? Which one is it, Nate?
I know. I thought it was a yoke.
Okay, go give him hit him with it.
Got me sweating here.
So if you were king of St. Charles for a day, what would be your first proclamation and why?
Could be whatever you want.
Yes.
Okay. So I would say, I have an answer for this. So I would say, I would proclaim that those in town would have to spend time at the St. Charles History Museum. Because, I mean, really, and I say this as kind of an embarrassed resident. I've lived here 11 years, and it was really this adventure that got me. I've always been interested in this beautiful downtown, and we're 185 years old this year. And yet I've seen these wonderful buildings. I've gotten married at this wonderful hotel. I don't know anything about the town. And it's been this adventure that pushed me into go see Allison and Tim and the folks at this historic museum.
Yes.
And when you learn about the great history of the city, I've fallen more in love with it. So I'd almost force, because I had to almost force myself to go down there and check it out. So that'd be
the
my
History Museum team would be very happy to hear that. So that your proclamation is that everyone has to learn history and head over to there. And people should. It is a really cool location. And like I said, Allison and her team
do a great job.
And they know so much, Yes, they can tell you everything you ever want to know.
Yes, they can. I've learned so well. We created a mini museum as you walk in the brewery with some of the history of Prohibition in
Oh, sorry.
St. Charles.
Keep going.
Sorry.
And I was about to say that if they want to learn more, we also have our historic walking tour. So grab a beer at Pollyanna and go through a walk through downtown, get to learn more about the buildings from the signs.
That's right. We did a collaboration with History Museum about a year and a half ago, and it's a historic walking tour up and down 64. So.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah. There's a lot of history there.
There's a lot of history. Yeah. So we've done a couple ghost haunted stuff, learning, and we've learned a lot from this museum about like factual stuff and not so factual stuff that kind of floats around town.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Well, that's all we have for you, Ryan. Thank you again for coming in today. You were awesome.
Thank you, guys.
So we will catch you all next time on What's Up
Downtown.
Woo!
Do, do, do.